that a lot of people have trouble with.
Yeah.
How are you tonight?
There you go.
I'm good, thank you.
Yeah, well, you know how he is. I'll tell you. Yeah. Are you gonna see your sister, Betty? Oh, she's away. She did say she was gonna be gone for 2 weeks. Okay. No, this announcement. We're trying to get the word out for this workshop on the 31st. Yeah. Yeah, well, Byron gonna have some. Okay. We need to get as many people out there as we can and see what we can do for Douglas neighborhood. Last minute, Charlie. All the time.
Did I give you enough of these? Let me give you some more. You said you wanted to take some to Mount Olive.
I just gave her what you paid for what you gave me to go to Mount Olive.
Oh, she goes to Mount Olive?
No,
but
her sister does.
Okay, she knows someone that does.
Yeah. Well, I know someone that does, but I know it's her sister goes. So that's why I
now there's
sister.
Another church. If you go down past Lee's Daycare and make a left on one of those streets.
Yeah, that's Anderson Memorial.
Okay, so I'll go over and see if I can figure out how to reach them.
I know how you can reach them. Right down from Allen Chapel, there's a trailer right there on the corner. You noticed it?
Mobile home.
Mobile home. The lady that lives right in that house, she and her husband goes with me to Allen Chapel, but the wife goes to Anderson Memorial.
That's funny.
They split up.
That's funny.
They split the kids up too.
Really?
Yeah.
That's funny.
Half of them go down together.
That's interesting.
There he is.
Hi, how are you tonight? Good.
Hello, how are you?
Here she is with a smile on her face.
Who's that for?
Oh, this is the proclamation. I need you to sign the proclamation.
You'd like me to sign it?
I'm sorry.
Okay, you'd like.
Yeah. And then this is that certificate of appreciation for the gentleman who gives
Yep.
Byron got to have some too. We got to spread the word about the workshop on the 30th.
Okay, I've been telling people.
Yeah.
And Byron, if people need transportation, I'm happy to go pick some people up. If there's somebody that wants to come and they need transportation, we can definitely help with that.
You have to actually give them something. Isn't that what she's supposed to do?
Sure. Certificate of appreciation and
You're so good at delegating, isn't
Where's
he?
this thing? That's not it. That's separate.
Bill doing
That's different.
Missy's. Yes. Has those.
Okay.
Good evening, Byron.
Hello, how you doing?
I'm fine. How are you doing? Good.
Hi, how are you this evening?
Hello. All right.
Good evening.
Good evening.
It's a lot of money.
I don't mind going to front of the county to see what your people are.
Come on up here, Courtney.
Where's Christina tonight?
Huh? She's here.
Oh, I see.
Scott, it's the Teacher Appreciation Day, right?
Look
It is.
up here.
Okay, it is.
All right, folks, we're going to call this meeting to order. At this point in time, we all stand for the invocation. Commissioner James will give it, and then we'll do the Pledge of Allegiance.
Shall we bow our heads, please? And dear Lord, we meet here once more and again as a commission to take care of the business of the city of Hot Springs. We thank you for your guidance and your leadership and your wisdom that you had bestowed upon us in the past. And Lord, we ask that you continue to do so. So we will do what is right for the city and the citizens of this city. We know that you know what we need, and you know that this city knows what it needs. And only you can get us to where we need to be. And Lord, we thank you for what you've done thus far, and we know that you will continue to lead us in the right direction. We thank you for everything. These things we ask in the name of your Son, Jesus. Amen.
Amen.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Angela, roll call, please.
Mayor Jameson,
Here.
Vice Mayor Jones,
Here.
Commissioner Williams,
Here.
Commissioner James,
Here.
Commissioner Robin,
Here.
At this point in time, I'd like for an approval of the agenda, please.
I'll make such a motion that the agenda be approved as printed.
Second.
I have a first and a second. Any other comments? Hearing none, all in favor of approving the agenda, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Hearing none. Thank you. Next order of business, approval of the minutes for April 26th.
I move that we approve the minutes of April 26, 2018.
Second.
I have a first and a second to approve the minutes for April 26th. Any comments? Hearing none. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Hearing none, the minutes are approved. Do we need to hold off for a second? Yeah, hello. You all here in the back?
You here?
Thank you. We've got a couple presentations and so forth here before we get started, folks. Bill, if you come up front, please.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor, council, councilors, our city manager. This is a real pleasant part of my job is when we have a staff member that works hard and really becomes involved in what a building department is all about and what we do and how the codes work. And they step up to the plate and they say, hey, I'd like to get my certification. And that happened, which that certification test is a very hard test to take. And Misty, come on up here, girl. Misty completed it, I think in a month's time. And she was successful in passing her test and obtaining a certification. This certification is done through the International Code Council. The International Code Council is the model code for all the codes in the United States, and actually Florida too. in this area, which I'm real proud of her, real proud. In this area, there are only, now there's 4 certified permit techs. I got a call from I spoke with the building official of the city of Gainesville, and he sent 2 to class. So this was after she passed hers. So when she passed hers, she was one of 2 in the whole area. It's a first for High Springs. High Springs never had a certified permit technician. Through the certification process, she's learned the administrative part of the building code, which is very important because she's the first contact when people come in. She's the one they ask all the questions to. I hide in the office while she does that. But she has become very, very good at research and answering the proper code questions, which when you're dealing with codes is very technical and very specific. And she's done real well. And Misty, congratulations, certified permit tech. Way to go. You thought she only had 1. She got 2. Shortly after she completed her certification as a permit technician, she wanted to get certified as a code enforcement officer. Okay. Off she went.
What was she thinking?
Yeah. So she actually became certified. She went to school, successfully passed the test, the exams, and became certified on the 24th of March, which was a month after this? Like a month after that. So she was real busy real quick. And that's great for us. Now there's 2 of us out. She goes out and fights people and takes care of things, and it's worked out very well. I think it's a one heck of a step for the city to have someone like this that's now certified in 2 areas of code, because actually it's all code. It's all code. What we're hoping for, I'm going to ask the Insurance Services Organization to come in and do another audit of the city. With what we've got with her being certified in 2 disciplines now, we should be able to get an ISO rating of about 3, which relates to you and your constituents a lower insurance rate on their homes. So that's where we're heading with this. It's a real benefit to the city. Right. And I thank you all for your support in letting us do that. Thank you, Bill.
Absolutely.
That's great.
At least one picture. Hello, official here.
Glad you didn't get 3.
There you go. That's my face. The city should be here.
At this point in time, we have a proclamation. Mr. Walker.
Yes, sir. Mr. Mayor, this is a proclamation of the State of Florida, City of High Springs, whereas teachers are real-life superheroes who educate, innovate, encourage, and support our children. And whereas teachers touch the lives of our children and their impact extends far beyond the boundaries of the classroom. Whereas teachers mold future citizens through guidance and education. Whereas teachers encounter students of widely differing backgrounds. And whereas our country's future depends upon providing quality education to all students. Whereas teachers spend countless hours preparing lessons, evaluating progress, counseling and coaching students, and performing community service. And whereas our community recognizes and supports its teachers in educating the children of this community. Now, therefore, our mayor, Scott Jamieson, as the mayor of the City of High Springs, hereby proclaims May 7th through the 11th, 2018, to be Teacher Appreciation Week in the City of High Springs, and encourages all citizens to express their appreciation to our teachers for their dedication and devotion to their work and our children. Signed and sealed this 10th day of May, 2018 AD. Signature for Scott Jamieson, our mayor, and attested by Jenny L. Parham, our city clerk. With the official seal of the City of High Springs, the appropriate motion is to pass the proclamation for teachers, honoring teachers in the state of Florida, City of High Springs, as read in its entirety.
Thank you, sir.
Yes, sir.
Any teachers in here? Why don't you stand if you're a teacher
Yes.
or a retired teacher? Come on.
Come on.
Yes, ma'am.
I thought you were supposed to present that to us.
Well, I'm going to. Is it going to you?
Yes.
Okay. I didn't know who. They didn't tell me who.
I was going to say you left it.
I ain't going to do that.
Thank you.
At this point in time, we have another certificate of appreciation, and I'm going to ask the commissioner who actually put forward this to have the honor to read it.
Thank you. It's our pleasure tonight to present a certificate of appreciation to Sergeant Donald P. Patterson, Jr. Donnie's a longtime High Springs resident and raised his children in our High Springs community and schools. Donnie and his wife, Gail, coached many teams over several years for High Springs Recreation Department. Sergeant Patterson began serving the Alachua County Sheriff's Office in August of 1990. He was on the Homicide Task Force during the nightmare that became known as the Gainesville murders. He was transferred into the Community Relations Bureau, where he served the county as Public Housing Deputy, Crime Prevention Deputy, Deputy Friendly, and as a School Resource Officer. Additionally, he worked with Alachua County Safe Kids Coalition promoting child safety and education. He served ASO for a long period of time as a School Resource Officer, serving High Springs Elementary, Spring Hill Middle, and as the schools combined, he continued to serve what became High Springs Community School. He touched the lives of generations of High Springs children with his gentle strength and kind demeanor, as well as the staff and the administration at our High Springs School for several years. While part of the ASO Juvenile Relations Bureau, Donnie was responsible for the organization and implementation of the annual Alachua County Safety Patrol trip to Washington, D.C. He did not just organize, Donnie also traveled with hundreds of High Springs students, teachers, and chaperones, facilitating the learning of our nation's history and democracy. He kept our children and their chaperones safe while far from home. As part of the Juvenile Relations Bureau, Sergeant Patterson supervised the school resource deputies on the west side of the county, which included High Springs, Alachua, and Newberry, and kept an even larger number of the Tri-City area's children safe. He served as a regional director for the Florida Association of School Resource Officers. The most recent and final stop in his lengthy law enforcement career was as a supervisor of the forensics unit in the Criminal Investigations Unit at Alachua County Sheriff's Office. Donnie, we thank you for the service you gave to our community and to the citizens of Alachua County. And I think you have a very well-deserved retirement coming.
Thank you very much. So sweet of you.
So you're going to get a picture here, Dana? Come on, you gotta get it.
Thank you very much. Wonderful. Thank you very much.
Thank you for all of your hard work.
Mr. James, thank you.
Good to see you, man.
It's a pleasure.
All right.
Good to see you, sir.
You too.
Excellent. I don't know, I think we ought to probably just pack it up and leave after that.
That's a good thing, right?
We're doing pretty well. But we're going to go on. Unfinished business, number one, consider ordinance 2018-04. Mr. Walker.
Mr. Mayor, this is ordinance 2018-04, an ordinance of the City of High Springs amending the fiscal year budget for 2017 through 2018 for the City of High Springs, CRA, providing for severability, providing an effective date, and providing for codification. The appropriate motion is to pass ordinance number 2018-04 upon its reading by title only. This is second reading, by the way.
At this point in time, I'll open this up to public hearing. Any comments on this? close it. Any discussion? If not, your pleasure on it, action?
I will make a motion that we adopt ordinance number 2018-04.
I second.
I have a first and a second to adopt ordinance 2018-04 on second reading. Angela, do roll call, please.
Vice Mayor Jones,
Yes.
Commissioner James,
Yes.
Commissioner Lavin,
Yes.
Commissioner Williams,
Yes.
Mayor Jameson.
Yes. Thank you very much. Item number 2 is consider ordinance 2018-05. This is a long one, folks, so get comfortable.
Mr. Mayor, this is ordinance 2018-05, an ordinance of the City of High Springs, Florida, pursuant to a petition number annexation 18-01 relating to voluntary annexation, making findings, annexing to and including within the boundaries of the City of High Springs, Florida, certain real property located in Alachua County, Florida, which is reasonably compact and contiguous to the boundaries of the City of High Springs, Florida, redefining the boundaries of the City of High Springs, Florida, providing for land use classification of the real property to be annexed, providing that effective January 1st, 2019, the real property to be annexed shall be assessed for payment of municipal ad valorem taxes and shall be subject to all general and special assessments, providing that existing licensed businesses, trades, or professions operating within the real property to be annexed may continue such businesses, trades, or professions throughout the entire boundaries of the City of High Springs, Florida, directing the city clerk within 7 days of the effective date of this ordinance to file certified copies of this ordinance with the Florida Department of State, Florida Office of Economic and Demographic Research, the Clerk of the Circuit Court of Alachua County, Florida, the Chief Administrative Officer of Alachua County, Florida, the Property Appraiser of Alachua County, Florida, the Tax Collector of Alachua County, Florida, and all public utilities authorized to conduct business within the City of High Springs, Florida, providing severability, repealing all ordinances in conflict, and providing an effective date. The appropriate motion is to pass ordinance number 2018-05 upon its second reading by title only.
At this point in time, I'll open the hearing for any public input on this. Hearing none. Any discussion on this one? Or do I have a motion?
I move that we consider, that we pass ordinance 2018-45, 05 as read.
Second.
I have a first and a second to pass ordinance 2018-05. Any other comments? Hearing none. Roll call, Angela.
Commissioner James,
Yes.
Commissioner Lavin,
Yes.
Commissioner Williams,
Yes.
Mayor Jameson,
Yes.
Vice Mayor Jones.
Yes.
Thank you very much. At this point in time, we'll open up the meeting to citizens' requests and comments, and these are for issues not on the agenda. Please state your name for the record and limit your comments to 5 minutes.
David Lynch, L-I-N-C-H. I have a daughter that's in kindergarten, and I take her to kindergarten every morning at High Springs Community School. And I and the other parents walk their children to the classrooms. And the other day, my child wasn't feeling well, and I took her in around 10 a.m. And when I took her in at 10 a.m., I had to go to the office and sign her in, and someone had to escort her to her class. In other words, the parents and anyone else have free access to the school when the school day starts, but then it's tightly controlled at any time after that. That just seems to be an inconsistency.
Thank you, sir. Anyone else? Hearing none, I'll close the citizens' comments and move on to new business. First order of new business is consider Resolution 2018-E. Mr. Walker?
Mr. Mayor, this is Resolution 2018E, as in elephant, a resolution of the City Commission of the City of High Springs, Florida, supporting the creation of the Children's Trust of Alachua County by voter referendum, which will be held on November 6, 2018, and providing an effective date. The appropriate motion is to pass Resolution 2018-E as read by title only.
We have someone here, obviously, who wants to make a presentation. She was at the joint meeting between the county and the city a couple weeks ago, so It's all yours.
Good evening. It's an honor to be here, and thank you so much for having me back. My name is Dorothy Benson, and I represent a grassroots, citizen-driven initiative that will be on the ballot in November called the Campaign for Children's Trust. Would you like me to tell you what it's all about or keep it short? I can do either. We've asked ourselves, many child advocates in our community have asked ourselves, what do all children need and what do we need to provide for, and how do we better serve children who have additional needs? We want healthy babies who are ready for kindergarten, reading on level by 4th grade, graduating high school with the skills to enter higher education or to be able to enter a vocation or trade, get into the workforce, and live their best lives. We can help accomplish those things through the Children's Trust. It's a local independent taxing district similar to our local library district that will focus funding and programs on our local children. Our council will be called the Children's Trust. It will be data-driven and overseen by an independent board. Our county commissioners have already created this entity by ordinance, but we need voters to vote to fund it in November. The independent board will be made up of the school superintendent, a school board member, a county commissioner, the Department of Children and Families regional director, a family court judge, and 5 appointees that will be put forward by the county commissioners and approved by the governor. Why would we want to do this? Because we need to begin thinking strategically and long-term beyond year-to-year budget cycles, identify gaps, reduce duplication, and encourage collaboration. We need to bring together our community's resources for children in one place. The money from the trust can't be shifted to other needs like potholes or roads or parks. The money generated will go just to children. It will also bring everyone to the table in collaborative ways. These are local taxes that would support our local children. Oh, there we go. It was clear to many of us that there was a great need for better access to quality early learning supports for our youngest children, and a real need to increase the quality of care that children receive in our local child care centers. We went to our Board of County Commissioners a couple of years ago, and they created and funded a Children's Services Advisory Board with $1.25 million annually to focus on children from prenatal to age 5. That Children's Board has developed 3 key focus areas. This is really exciting because it's the first day today that an RN went out and visited a new mom and a new baby. The first is the Nurse Home Visitation Program, where every mother who has a baby in Alachua County will be offered a free home visit from an RN in the first week after she's had her baby. It doesn't matter if the mom gives birth at Shands, North Florida Regional Medical Center, or with a midwife. We know babies don't come with owner's manuals, and for the moms that accept this new free service, the RN can help with things like breastfeeding, postpartum depression issues, making sure babies have safe sleeping arrangements, and many more. The RN can also refer new mothers to other services available in our community if the new mom needs more support and requests additional services. The second focus area is on the transformative professional development for early childhood teachers at local child care centers. The current Children's Board is working with the early childhood experts at the University of Florida's Anita Zucker Center for Excellence in Early Childhood Studies. The best practices that our early childhood experts develop will be shared countywide at Alachua County's child care centers through a partnership with the Early Learning Coalition. And the third focus area for our Children's Board is working on social and emotional development for children, which includes mental health supports for both our young children and their caregivers or parents. One thing that Dr. Maggie Labarda at Meridian Behavioral Health Care said to me several years ago that I've kept in mind is that some people don't want to think that young children need mental health services, and they do. They always need an adult that can take care of them. So the creation of this local Children's Board was an important step for children in our community, but we we have more needs than we have funding for. We're asking voters in Alachua County to approve a permanent Children's Services Council called the Children's Trust that would go beyond prenatal to 5 and serve children 0 to 18. There is a mountain of data to support us. Too many children start kindergarten behind and they don't catch up. And we must do more to answer the disparities that we face in Alachua County. Traditionally, our schools have been on the front line of meeting children's needs, but we need to do more to support them and be there at the times when the schools can't be there, like in the first 5 years of a child's life when 85% of a child's early brain development is occurring, and in the summers and after school. This slide just shows that overall 43.7% of our district students are not on grade level in terms of their English language arts by 3rd grade, and we think we can do better. You can see that the gap widens when you look at the performance by economic status. It jumps to 63.3% not on grade level reading in 3rd grade for the children that are on free and reduced lunch. This slide shows how remediation and early support for children can actually save resources down the road. There were over 1,200 non-promotions in the 2014-2015 school year. The same was true in 2015 and 16. You can see it starts in kindergarten when they come to school not ready. They hit 3rd grade and they take the FSA and they're not able to pass it. There are some social promotions in there in the middle school years, and it climbs again up until 12th grade. Oops, sorry. I really got ahead of myself. This was in red a figure that jumped out for me. Florida spends less than $2,437 per year on a pre-K student for voluntary pre-K, but we spend more than $69,000 to incarcerate a juvenile annually. We think it makes more sense to support children early. We aren't reinventing the wheel. We have some great examples to follow. 8 other counties have voter-approved children's councils, which have been highly successful. In fact, their voters have overwhelmingly reauthorized their children's councils in all of those counties, by 65 to 84% of the voters in those counties voting to support and continue and reauthorize their children's council. What would it cost? The Children's Trust would be funded through a $500,000 in our property taxes and raise approximately $7 million annually dedicated to children. Based on the average taxable value of their home, the average homeowner in Alachua County will contribute about $36 each year, or about $3 per month. Whether you feel warm and fuzzy about kids or you're just tired of paying taxes, this initiative is for you. The Nobel Prize-winning economist James Heckman with the University of Chicago calculates that for each $1 invested in early childhood, taxpayers can save $7 down the road. It's never too late to invest in a child, but the earlier you invest, the greater your return on investment. I keep getting off my slides. I'm terribly sorry about that. There we go. That's the dollar invested brings back $7 to society later. The U.S. Chamber of Commerce urges its members to support policies that align the early learning system and the K-12 system by making early learning policies part of their economic development agenda. We're very excited that the Gainesville Chamber of Commerce just voted to endorse our Campaign for Children's Trust. We know that inaction is costly. Not only does inaction hurt individuals that can't live up to their own personal potential, but we need people leaving their school-age years with the skill sets to go on to higher education or enter our workforce, because we know that strong communities grow strong families, and strong families will fuel a stronger local economy. These are just some of our endorsements. We expect many more to come. At the recent Board of County Commissioner meeting with the school board and the county commissioners and the school board both were very positive about supporting it. We've gotten endorsements, as I mentioned, from the Chamber, from United Way, the League of Women Voters, Altrusa, Acorn Clinic, SWAG, and leaders such as Sheriff Darnell and Mayor Poe. We live in a great community. You won't be surprised that polling in January showed clear support for Children's Trust. 66% of poll respondents were in favor of creating a Children's Trust, and that number went higher when respondents were told more about the programs that the Children's Trust can fund. Some of the highest supported programs included early learning supports, literacy supports, after-school programs, better nutritional support for children, and vocational opportunities. So what are we advocating for? We're advocating to expand the RN home visitation program and other early childhood supports to ensure that every baby has a healthy start in life. We're calling for greater early childhood education and care initiatives to ensure school readiness. We want more literacy supports so that children are reading in the 3rd grade. We need safe, quality after-school programs and summer programs that enrich more children's lives, and we must do more to prepare children for what lies beyond their school-age years. So we believe it's time to invest in kids and make 2018 the year of the child by supporting both the Campaign for Children's Trust and supporting the complementary initiative by the schools to pass a half-cent infrastructure sales tax for our school improvements.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Let me say, for those who are here, the resolution is basically the city putting their backing behind this resolution. And so that's what was presented for the resolution, just so you all know, is it basically put support behind that, so you understand what we're voting on. Thank you. Any questions?
Yeah, one question.
Yes.
So who and how would the county select the 5 members?
We, as a group, need to put names forward. Citizens need to step forward and put their resumes in and apply for these positions. We need to be strategic and smart. We want that advisory board to reflect our community, Alachua County, and we would like to see someone on that commission with some early learning experience, some mental health experience, and certainly some families, parent, maybe a school teacher. But they will take the resumes, and then the county commissioners will pull them together. They have to put 3 names up for each one of those 5 open slots, and then the governor at that time would approve one of those 3.
Okay, thank you.
Another question? Thank you very much.
Ms. Benson, there's I went to a meeting, actually Courtney went to it as well this past week, or the Wednesday morning, yesterday morning, it seems like a long time ago now, but Dr. Sandoval with the University of Florida presented on an economic research and study that he has now reported on, which falls in line a lot along with the things that you presented. I don't know if you're familiar with his research or not. But
I believe the report is titled Understanding Racial Inequities in Alachua County.
That's exactly what it is.
Absolutely.
And it is fascinating research, economic data as to what happens with early learning and all the things that you were just presenting on.
Yeah. It's time to be proactive and start taking care of our kids. It's an economic decision, it really is, because if we have children that can come out of high school with the skills they need to be productive, happy adults that are paying taxes, everyone wins. It's a win-win.
Thank you. Any action on this?
I'll make a motion to adopt Resolution 2018E.
Second.
I have a first and a second to pass Resolution 2018E. Any other comments? Hearing none. Roll call, Angela.
Commissioner Lavin?
Yes.
Commissioner Williams?
Yes.
Mayor Jamison?
Yes.
Vice Mayor Jones?
Yes.
Commissioner James?
Yes.
Passes 5-0. Thank you very much, ma'am.
Thank you.
Appreciate your efforts. At this point in time, item number 2, consider Resolution 2018-F. Mr. Walker.
Mr. Mayor, this is Resolution 2018-F, a resolution of the City of High Springs, Florida, relating to the provision of fire services, facilities, and programs in the City of High Springs, Florida, establishing the estimated assessment rate for the fire services assessments for the fiscal year beginning October 1, 2018, directing the preparation of an assessment roll, authorizing a public hearing, and directing the provision of notice thereof, and providing an effective date. The appropriate motion is pass Resolution 2018-F.
I believe Bruce has a presentation to make.
Chief.
Good evening, Commission. Fire Chief Bruce Gillingham. So real quick before we get into the presentation, this is a little faster than we normally do the fire assessment. Normally we're in the middle of budget while we're discussing the fire assessment. We're asking for a rate increase this year. The rate increase is higher than what we've already noticed the citizens to the maximum rate we could go to that was previously adopted. So we had to come forth sooner than we normally would. With the rate increase, there are some things that will happen within the fire department that are not only beneficial to the department, but beneficial to the city of High Springs. So the rate increase we're asking for is to move the fire assessment to $155 per year. With that said, it's going to allow us to convert our current part-time positions to full-time members of the department. There's some crucial needs with that. I've had a couple commissioners ask over the last several weeks with this on the agenda, why do we need to do this now? So I'm going to go over this relatively quick. When we started adding the part-time positions and we started increasing staffing levels, there was a need for 2 in, 2 out, which we've discussed in these meetings 100 times over. They serve the purpose for the time being with the insurance requirements now that are set forth and some different things where we were having the cost savings with the part-time employees. Those cost savings have gone away. We've had to add additional part-timers just to meet those needs. With that said, we've also have lost a great deal of part-timers over the years as well due to the fact that there's so many departments around us hiring. Marion County just redid their pay down there. They're hiring, I think, 38 right now. The county's currently has 30 positions open. Suwannee County has multiple positions open. So the certified part-timers we were getting that did not have other jobs that were available to fill in last minute or were able to fill in all the time are no longer available to us. We have a lot of part-timers that work for other departments. So that means we're either getting them when they're coming off of shift and they've already been used up for 24 hours, or we're getting them before they go to their other shift and they're having to leave us early, which is leaving holes in staffing. So the need has really shifted against our favor, if you will, where we're running into issues where we're having staffing levels of 2 people for 3 to 4 hours at a time. So the need is really there. There are some positives with making this adjustment and adding the additional full-time staff. It will allow us to move forward with the Advanced Life Support Initiative that we've discussed a little bit. I know we're kind of putting the cart before the horse, but if we don't look at adopting a higher fire assessment to get these personnel on board, that whole conversation goes away. If we're not going to be able to go Advanced Life Support with part-time employees, it just will not happen. So the presentation that's up on the screens right now is months of hard work at this point in time. Some of it's years of hard work. Myself, finance have sat down. Ms. Stahl and I have worked diligently on this for the last few days, trying to make sure everything's going to balance, that we could do it with this dollar amount we're requesting. We know we can add the people. The ALS side is unknown at this point in time. We know we can fund it with the increase we're asking for of the fire assessment on the personnel side. The rest of it's icing on the cake at this point. We need to make sure we can get this component done before I can move forward with any of the other components. So do we have any questions at this point based off of what I said before we even show the numbers at this point? No? Okay, can you, first slide please? Oh, there's the clicker. So the increase of the fire assessment to 155 for the residential rate will bring in a revenue of $404,000 directly to the fire department. As with the fire assessment, as it has been in the past, that money can only go to the fire department. So we're not going to have to use any general fund monies to fund the full-time positions. This is all based off the best of our knowledge at this point, any unforeseen things, but every scenario we've come up with at this point, it seems in our favor. The increase per residence is $43 per year or $3.58 per month, depending on how you want to break it down. Same rules apply. Hardship still available for the residents that need it. This will also increase the commercial rate by 1 cent up to 30,000 square feet, which is previously been set by the fire assessment. It'll raise institutional from 9 cents per square foot up to 11 cents per square foot. So it will be shared across the board. The numbers you're looking at there are our operating revenues. It shows fourth line down shows the increase of the fire assessment. If you, I believe, can't see it from here, right above it is what we're asking Alachua County for the increase. That will be for the ALS portion of this program. Also, by doing this, it shows that we're vested into our fire department, and we're also requesting that they get vested with it as well to be able to provide to the unincorporated area of the county. So those are the increases. If you look at the regular salaries, that's where the increases are. You see regular salaries are not going up by much, and overtime is. I will explain that. That is back to the built-in overtime, where they work the long weeks, where this also covers their holiday pay as well for holiday works. The other side of this also is the projection of what the cost with the pay study that will be presented during the budget. So this includes that cost. So if this is approved tonight, and this is the preliminary, we can go back and change it at any point in time, and we can roll it back or we can go up with it. This includes those numbers. So these will be the future numbers for the fire department if that's the pay study for the employees goes through the way it needs to, and it basically includes everything that we can foresee for the future right this moment. There are some reoccurring costs associated with the ALS side. We'll discuss that. That's also factored into this. Once we get into negotiation with the county, we'll be able to shore those numbers up 100%. But you'll see there's some in-kind talks that have gone on with the county. With the in-kind things they're looking to provide, some of the things are, right now they've agreed to provide cardiac monitors. If we were to go out on our own and buy cardiac monitors for the ALS, we're looking at a $92,000 purchase. They have some extras that they're willing to do to provide to us right now. Per our current contract, they provide a few things to us, one of which being an AED, so we're going to turn that AED in and swap it out with cardiac monitors. So that's really it, and nuts and bolts. I mean, that's really basic, very bottom rung, just kind of where we're at right now, and until we know to where I know where this is and that we can get this portion done with the personnel, then the next step will be moving forward with the ALS and discussing it.
Sure. What he's asking for really is just a preliminary at $155 per year. And in talking to the county manager, along with some of the county commissioners, because we're putting our money into it also, we're not simply asking the county to contribute to this. They don't see a problem with it. We also provide services to the county in the unincorporated areas as well as we do ourselves. And so if for some reason it fails in the county, then we'll go back and readjust that amount, but we have to put it right now at the top. I can tell you, having been rescued here just a few weeks ago, I would have paid thousands of dollars to have somebody give me a shot to put me out of my pain or misery, but it's very important. It is the most important thing that we have done in a long time. It is sending out a crew that actually can monitor, give medicines, do a lot of things before the ambulance get there. It's also very possible that they can take care of the problem and cancel the ambulance. Right now, everybody gets shipped. So I think this is one of the things that we can do for the community that will be lasting. But again, the 155 is only an amount, and when we get to the budget, we'll determine what it really will be.
And the step with this, also to reiterate what he's saying, is this allows us to help fix the current issue we're having with the part-time employees to fill those staffing holes that we currently have. So that it's imperative that we fix that as well. Just because the ALS thing dies on the backside, I'm still going to recommend converting the positions, and then we'll look at different ways to fund the ALS from that point forward if we don't get the continued support that we're currently seeing from the county. It just may not happen October 1 of next year. We may have to spread it out over a year or so and make it work to where it's economical for everybody, because it is rather expensive. I mean, without the county's help, point blank, without any in-kind service, I mean, we're looking at a $371,000 tab. So our big step from a department standpoint is let's get the people, let's get them full-time, and the ALS will follow. They are really cooperative. You heard them in the joint meeting. They're really supportive of the program, and there's a lot of positive right now because it's going to benefit everybody, because also it's, and don't think they're just doing it out of the kindness of their heart. We always know there's an end game with the county. I mean, there is. It's going to start freeing up some of their medic units as well, because like Mr. Booth said, we're not going to be waiting on them for 20, 25 minutes. We're going to be able to mitigate a lot of problems ourselves. We're going to be able to cancel them. Right now we can't, because you can't cancel a higher level of care. We will be that higher level of care, and we'll be able to move forward with that.
Any questions, comments?
But y'all won't be doing no transporting, y'all just...
No transporting, no, sir. Okay. Put it in perspective, if we were to look at transport, the county's agreed on the certificate of need provider for the non-transport side. We'd have to petition the county to go for that, and we'd probably end up at the House arguing back and forth with them to get a transport. For us to go transport, we're looking at $725,000, and that's just for one unit. And we're not even, I'm not even coming to the table with that. They want to handle the transports in the county. They can pay their $725,000 per medic unit to keep it on the road. This is the best, most economical solution to our citizens without it breaking the budget and touching general fund.
But, I think you answered my other question is, because I kind of think we're putting it to the cart before the horse, because we haven't get the budget yet. But there's a good possibility we'll have to go this high.
Yes, there is. If the county participates, and we're going that way to ALS, then that is right. We'll go to. If they don't participate, and there's no indication that they're not going to, but if they do, then we'll reevaluate what we really need and bring it forward during the budget.
But the reality is we need to have these positions to meet that 2 in, 2 out criteria, correct? We have times when we're not able to meet that now.
Correct, and we do have that hole that is that need that needs to be filled, because, I mean, just a light example is if I got 2 that are going to their regular job and have to be there at 8, they're leaving about 6. Right. Just ballpark here. And if I have another crew coming in from their other job, they don't get off till 8, so they're not getting there till 10. So there is a window that we could have a big hole. And a lot of our full-timers do stay, and we do have some overtime out of that. But we try to self-police it ourselves so we don't get in that situation. We'll probably see a little bit of it. The building official brought it up earlier. They're asking for a reclassification of ISO in the near future. We are up for ISO this year. So we will probably see a small ding from it this year. They'll be here in August. I suspect we'll maintain our 4 just because we are high enough in that, but it's going to be depending on how bad the staffing numbers look when they get to it. I can tell you there was some sketchy times in there looking at them. We're going to be borderline, but I don't think we're going to move out of a 4. But there is potential to get us out of a 4 back up to a 5 and maybe even a 6 where we were previously before the changes if we're not careful.
I think it's very important for us to consider ALS because, well, particularly we do have a large amount of senior citizens in this area, I being one of them. And if you need help immediately, knowing that you guys, our firefighters, can come in and take care of us, that's going to be important. I've got experience in that. My husband had to wait about 45 minutes one time for an ambulance. You guys stayed right with him, and he was very comfortable, but it's kind of scary knowing that we had to wait.
Anybody else?
Yeah, it appears that what we were asking, I don't think is really out of whack for what we're getting in return. And I sort of agree with Linda. I think it's very important. I could have used it the other day myself with my dad. So, yeah. So I'm with you on that.
And the key with this is this is all the preliminary stuff, and the reason it is so early is we do have to send the notices out that we are going above that 112 that we've already previously adopted in our sliding scale. So we do have to go out and re-notify everybody. I mean, we have to be back to the commission by July 7th again. Off the sheet, there's a lot of notification we have to do in newspapers and things along those lines. So this isn't going to be the first time we're talking about it. There's going to be plenty of time to have this conversation. But once we have, like I said, once I have this piece in place with Mr. Booth's direction, probably next week is what I'm guessing, depending on how the vote goes tonight, then we'll really start hammering nuts and bolts out with the county, and we'll be able to really come back with everything. But we know where the numbers are, we know where we need to be, and if they'll give us what we need dollar amount wise and the in-kind stays where it's at, then we're moving forward.
And do you have staff to do this notice? This is a big job getting this
That's
notice.
what we pay GSG for. It's part of our contractual agreement with them, so they will send the notices out.
Okay.
Very good.
Okay. So the only thing I say is make it, I want to say that, make it plain for people to understand.
Well,
and the reason I'm saying that is because I'm trying to be nice here. Some ain't going to see it as positive as we do. But if they're going to see it as, I'm trying to be nice, a tax.
I get what you're saying.
So make it, people can understand it, that it won't be rumors
language.
Correct.
out there that, you know where I'm coming from.
And what I'd like to do is get some input back from you folks over the next week or so. Let's talk about doing a workshop. Okay. Shoot me an email, get with Mr. Booth. We already have a contract with Shands. We haven't adopted the contract because y'all haven't seen it yet for the medical direction. We have everything. Like I said, all the pieces are here. This is just another piece of the puzzle. And Dr. Jones is willing to come out to a workshop. The county's willing, admin's willing to come out with us to a workshop, and everybody's willing to sit down and have just a question and answer session with everybody so we can be as transparent as possible with this, and they're willing to have more than one so we can explain to the citizens the importance of this as well.
Good. You had the nail on the hammer on the nail. Workshops. I don't too much like it, but
sometimes you have to.
You have to.
Sometimes
let people explain it to people why we're doing stuff.
Yeah, most definitely get together, come up with some dates. Let me know. Get with Mr. Booth, get it emailed in, or however we want to do it. Call me. And we'll write down some dates. I'll shoot it to the doctor. I'll shoot it to the county. We'll make sure we can set it up, and then we'll do like a 6:30 workshop. We can do it if the Civic Center's done. We can do it over there and let everybody look at the new building if we wanted to, or we can do it up here. However y'all would like to do it, and just be as transparent as possible, and we can do 1 or 2, 3 more if we want to, just to make sure everybody knows. Just whatever flavor the commission would like on that.
I think it's really important to let people know that you're trying to upgrade the service that we can offer, because people look at it and say, oh, another tax, but it's not another tax. We're expanding the service so that we can protect our citizens in a better manner. So I think presenting it in that way is going to help.
Yeah, I think that's what I was trying to say when I said with what he's asking and this, what we're going to get in return.
Right.
Is really not out of whack.
And the nice thing with this, using the assessment as well for vehicle to fund this, that monies can't go anywhere else. So it has to go back in the department. So we can't just say, hey, we're doing this and then we're just going to send it over here.
I think a key element is what he just said at the end, is the mere fact that if you look at it, the $43 isn't something that you would raise, put it in the general fund, and not know where it's going. My opinion, I've always been of the deal, if you can tell me exactly where the money's going and I know it's going to go for a good cause, I think most people would be willing to pay for it. I think it's when you give government money, you don't know where it's going, it's just going to some project, is when you sort of have issues. The increase here would be specifically set aside to fully staff, and my opinion on this one is understand this is a 2-step process. If we don't go to the full time, which obviously would provide us better service, my question is why? We've existed with part time, but times are different, as Chief said earlier, with going. So the question is do we go full time? You have to have your 2 in, 2 out, so you keep your ISO rating down, which affects our insurance. And so if that's the case and you get that, then the next thing is you go for the ALS. It's a moot point if we do not go full-time. The ALS will not even enter into the picture. So I think the workshops are an added thing. I think it needs to be sold, and we need to make sure that people understand that this money is earmarked. It's not going anywhere. It's not going to buy something here. It's not going to buy something there. This is going specifically to make our lives safer. And if we get the ALS, I hate to admit it, but I am getting older. But I do understand when you get in there and if you have a diabetic seizure or if you have certain things, we can't do anything with that. You have a severe, Mr. Booth, and Ed, I apologize on this one here, he had a severe break in his leg. They're going to tourniquet it. They couldn't give morphine. They couldn't give anything. ALS could have gone there and they could have done whatever required to be done at the time, given him the medication and so forth. We couldn't do that. He would have to wait however long for it to get there. So I'm personally for it because I know that my tax dollars is going specifically for a project which is going to benefit from a health reason. But the citizens need to know. So, Draylen, if you'll get with Jenny and let's send something out and let's get some dates that we can all agree on, and then we'll do this as quickly as possible because it needs to be presented. Any comments from the audience on this? Thank you. At this point in time, and let me say on this one here, when we do the first reading, so people know, you can set the level and come down. You can't come down and go up. So we put the thing at 155. If something blows up and everything goes, we can lower it.
Correct.
So this is so I want people to understand that we can go up. This is not set in stone.
Correct.
Depending on what it is. So, but we have to do this in order to get there. It's a procedural issue. So, any motion on this resolution?
I move that we pass Resolution 2018-F.
Second.
I have a first and a second to consider Resolution 2815. Any other comments? Roll call, Angela.
Commissioner Williams?
Yes.
Mayor Jamison?
Yes.
Vice Mayor Jones?
Yes.
Commissioner James?
Yes.
Commissioner Lavin?
Yes.
If and when you get the comments that you can sit down, Bruce.
Thank you.
No, I appreciate it. No, I'm just saying if and when the comments come, and I'll be out there. I mean, I don't mind saying this. I have no problem with arguing for a program that I know is going to benefit my family and benefit, and I know that where the money's going. I can argue that all day long, as opposed to not. So we're on the furthest northwest section of the county. I'd like to know that somebody's 5 minutes away or closer who can, if a life emergency were to present itself, that we were taking care of our own and not an unknown of when the ambulance and so forth is going to get there. So I'm all for it, and let's rock and roll, and we'll set these workshops up. I hope you all will be there. Item number 3. This is resolution night. Mr. Walker.
Yes, sir. This is Resolution 2018-G, a resolution of the City Commission of the City of High Springs revoking the Manual of Development and Design Standards adopted in 2003, adopting a Public Works and Utilities Infrastructure Specifications Manual, authorizing the city manager to update from time to time as appropriate and necessary, providing for conflicts and providing a severability and providing an effective date. The appropriate motion is passed Resolution 2018-G upon its reading by title only.
Mayor, I have Bill here that will make a small presentation. It's all yours. Okay? Yes, sir.
Bill, just basically explain what this is, correct?
Mayor, Council. What we're doing it's an infrastructure utility specifications. Actually, I was cornered by our good attorney here about 2 months ago to create this document, because the one we have now is very outdated, and it's not very specific on what developers need to do. The whole reason for a document like this is when a developer comes into our city and he's going to develop a subdivision, we can give him this manual, so to speak, and these are our specifications on specific valves, specific pipes, types, specific water lines, how we want them put in, what compaction rates we want, how we want our lifts compacted. It's very, very specific. It's also a fluid document. So as construction changes and things change and new devices come out, we can change it within this document without having to come back to you all, because it changes constantly. I think that I've lived documents like this before, and I tell you, when you do a subdivision, when the developer comes in and says, what do I need, and you look at him and go, whatever your engineer brings me is fine, that's the first sign of trouble. It just doesn't work. If you have a very specific document that they can follow early in the process, and I look at Scott because I know you've been through it too, when the plans come in, it's pretty easy to look at them because they followed your book. And if they didn't follow your book, you don't approve the plans. That's kind of how it works. It gives us teeth in what we're doing. It gives us a better development. It's a safeguard for us for when the time comes that we will take streets, acquire streets over in the infrastructure, over in these developments. We'll know what we have. We have specific instructions. We have specific inspectors that have to perform tasks during these constructions. Any questions? I mean, this is a very technical manual. If you'd like to read me, like me to read you a valve spec, I'll be glad to do it. I think you'll be lost. Any questions?
Bill, I want to tell you that you brought a level of expertise to our city that we have not had probably ever, and I greatly appreciate
Thank you.
The expertise that you're bringing here so that we protect our citizens, so that we protect our city. I'm not sure anybody understands how much is involved in what you did there, but it's really important for our city, so I just want to thank you for that.
Thank you. And I'd like to thank the support of Commission, and especially the support of this guy. I mean, this took a lot of stuff, and he was right behind me, and off we went. Of course, we had the attorney behind us, too. So. But to me, it's a very, very important document. It is so frustrating when you're out in a subdivision and you don't have exact specifications on something, and now you're up against engineers, ultimately attorneys, ultimately it goes to court. That's an expense to the city, and it's just a tough way to go. I think we can avoid all that.
Bill and I have never, ever known a developer not to push, and they want to put in the development typically as cheaply as they possibly can. This sets the bar at standards that they have to adhere to. It makes his life easier and my life a lot easier, so it's much needed. The other thing I'd commend them is bringing Misty on. We met a couple weeks ago now and did a little training for quasi-judicial procedures for the Planning and Zoning Board, do's and don'ts and that kind of thing. So it's not just his expertise, but he's getting staffed appropriately so that we can really move forward. And we're going to be in a hot time. We're going to have a lot of development in the city.
We are. We're looking at 3 fairly large projects right now. So it's coming. It's coming. Any other questions? Thank you.
I'd like to just say one thing as we go on this one here, and this is something. It's just a piece of the puzzle. We've talked about this for a year or 2 years as far as the planning and zoning and comp plan and so forth. And I see this as just one piece of the puzzle going into the process to put the city in a better position as we grow, that you have everything in place and we're not haphazard or looking at other things. So I see this as a step. Catherine's here. We're going to, with the comp plan, we've got people on staff now between Bill and the community development person. I think we're, as Ms. Lavin said, I think we're putting ourselves in position now, just people who know what the heck they're doing, and we got the right documents. So I thank you for that.
Quite welcome. Thank you.
Item number 4, discussion on allowing alcohol sales.
We haven't voted on it yet.
We probably ought to do that.
You're trying to get out of here, Scott.
I just thought it was unanimous. Roll call, Angela.
Do we have a motion? I'll make a motion that we adopt Resolution 2018G.
I've got it all written down here in front of me, too. I have a first. Did I have a second? We did?
Yes.
I'll listen. I apologize. That's awful. That's awful.
Mayor Jameson.
I probably should say yes at this point. Yes.
Vice Mayor Jones.
Yes.
Commissioner James.
Yes.
Commissioner Lavin.
Yes.
Commissioner Williams.
Yes.
You know, hang in there with me, man. I know, hang in with me. I got it all written down here, folks. I sincerely apologize. Can I go to 4 now?
Yeah.
Okay. That's awful. Discussion on allowing alcohol sales during special events. I know Commissioner Levin brought this up. I'll let you begin.
Okay, so I had talked with some merchants downtown during the last planning meeting for the First Friday event, and an idea about having a First Friday or an event to bring people to the city and inviting the local breweries was brought up, and then I said, oh, we have an alcohol ordinance. We have to talk about that before we can move forward with this. So I've had the great pleasure. We actually have a brewery that has started in town, and one of the owners of the brewery is here tonight. I went and met with them and saw their operation, and he wants to educate us a little bit about what they're doing and what they see as their plan going forward. And he was one of the teachers that stood up. So my understanding is both of the owners work full-time jobs and do this after hours, which many of us business owners do. So, and then I see another business owner here that I think wanted to speak about it. But what we're looking for is to do an occasional event where we could have alcohol permitted, and to put some parameters in place. And Courtney sent me a whole bunch of reading to do, which I did. And I think Gainesville has some really good guidelines in their ordinance that still really protect the city but allow for events. So that's why I brought it up, so that we could see if we could look for doing this.
Would the individual like to come up and speak?
You want to come up? Yeah. You with the High Springs Brewery shirt on.
Yeah. I'll come up here. It's a pleasure to be here. My name is Kiffin Ayers, Kiffin. And had the great pleasure of meeting Ms. Lavin and working with Bill. And we started the process before Bill and Misty were on board with High Springs. And so it's been a pleasure working with them kind of in the process. We've only officially been a business for a year and look to open in probably midsummer. A lot of our goals being family oriented, family owned and operated. All of the principals in the business are all part of the family. And, half of us live here in High Springs, and our extended families are here. And so a lot of it is just part of bringing our passions, as educators, as family people, and seeing the potential for High Springs. Listening to Bruce, seeing what's coming in the past couple of years since Bill has been in his position and the things that have kind of been coming to play. High Springs has a resurgence that's coming, and we left Gainesville and are glad and to come out here and enjoy the richness of being able to see the sky at night with no light pollution, and to be able to enjoy what's here. And a lot of our friends and people are excited that they wouldn't have to drive to Gainesville. They can come to High Springs to enjoy High Springs, to enjoy the brewery, and we're excited to see High Springs flourish. And that's
Their establishment is located in the warehouses next to where ThemeWorks is. It's right next to ThemeWorks, just before you get there in those warehouses. And so ultimately, the Rails to Trails is going to run right behind that property. So potentially even event in their backyard, like as that trail corridor opens, a music, a biking, a trail event. So it's important for more than just an occasional First Friday that we create some sort of permit that we could work with somebody that wants to do events like that in an appropriate setting, So I'm, very excited about that. Yesterday I was at a Tourist Development Council meeting, and they did the man that does their website got up and did a presentation and said the 3 things that got hit first on their website. Number 1 was breweries, number 2 was art, and number 3 was nature. So I found that very interesting that the breweries down in Gainesville, that's a thing that's getting hit the most on the Tourist Development Council website. So it was very interesting to me.
Absolutely. Any questions?
Hang tight.
Absolutely.
There may be questions, comments.
I guess the only thing I would ask is, you're talking about doing this on every First Friday?
No,
every now and then.
no.
So, without ordinance now, I call it, for us being outside, are you allowed to assume alcohol?
No, sir.
outside?
Your ordinance currently says that you're prohibited from consuming or possessing any alcoholic beverage in any publicly owned park or recreation area, public school property, or any city-owned or city-operated recreation center. It also prohibits consuming or possessing any alcoholic beverages in any open container on any public street, thoroughfare, sidewalk, or any publicly owned parking facility in the city.
The ordinances that you sent me, they were very specific in areas that they would allow and wouldn't allow. Some of them were very specific. She gave me several different cities. So we could just limit it to a particular corridor or, exclude it from different areas. We already have some exclusions due to churches or schools, so it could be a very specific.
Right. You don't have to, you could exclude, what's one with the baseball fields, Memorial Park?
Right,
and
like
could always
Civic
exclude
Center,
that, or
like
you could
Civic
exclude
Center.
the Civic Center, and you could have a list of parks or areas where you would allow it, and sometimes then you could do that, but it has to be permitted. So you could say over where the Rails to Trails is, where the farmers market is going, that would be allowed, but someone has to come in for a permit. And so with the permit, then they have to provide to the city manager certain safeguards, certain things, and so they know that it's happening. And that's kind of what Gainesville.
And they notice the law enforcement to make sure there's some steps that they very clearly put in these ordinances so that it's done in a very careful manner. That there's not just people putting up tents and sitting out there getting drunk. So.
And I'm happy to provide those examples to everyone, or if there's something more specific you had in mind, I can tailor the examples I send to that.
It says alcohol. You talking alcohol? You talking beer?
I'm talking beer. I'm glad we're on the same page.
Well, there's a difference when you say alcohol.
Absolutely.
At least in my world, that would mean.
That's a whole different long conversation as well. We're talking about beer.
Okay, so I just want to make sure as we go forward that people understand this, because that is a big difference.
Right.
So the other thing that I really don't know what you want to do. You have to tell me what you're going to tell me. I heard this. I really have no idea what you want to do. What are you proposing?
Well, I'm here in support of Ms. Lavin, and as a local business, in support of seeing, what's going to help increase the draw for that event, and being able to sell beer. Is that the question?
I don't know. I'm asking. I want to know what the proposal is here, obviously you have an idea on what you would like this to do.
Well, I think in all of it, it's a conversation to be had. What's appropriate within the laws, what's appropriate in the ordinances. To be able to make it happen as if there's a beer garden that's roped off, that provides an opportunity for those that wish to imbibe to have it, access to it while participating in a larger event. So it may not be the event itself, but as a contributing factor to other businesses,
because the reality
tourism.
is if we get people down to First Friday that are coming because we have High Springs Brewery and we have somebody else there, and they're set up here and our shops are open, it's going to draw a different group of people than we are currently drawing into High Springs that maybe haven't even been here to see our shops. I think Mike Casey wanted to come up. Mike owns River Run, and I think he wanted to...
Well, I just want to help. I'm Mike Casey with River Run Olive Oil. We opened 2 years ago, and we're very satisfied with being in High Springs. The comment we're getting, which we're very as a compliment, is we're a destination. What this young man is trying to do is get people as a destination. Not people just see how many people we can get off 441 and get people here. The city of Alachua just hosted one of these, wine night and beer night on a first Thursday. And I'm very happy to tell you folks, they can't get their first Thursday off the ground. Your people downtown have got their first Friday off the ground. It's a fledgling thing, but it is going. Right? Alachua can't do it. And they had a wine and a cheese night. So I would correct my editing a little bit. It may not be just beer. This will be unbeknownst to everybody sitting here. But you had one of the biggest hard cider companies in the country sitting right here in High Springs, visited our store and wanted to come. And they bought a house. They were going to open a tasting room, and they just couldn't get things up and going. So cider, there is cider places in Florida also, so hard cider. But it's the venues that happen when you bring in 4 or 5 of these. This guy can't do it by himself. He needs other breweries, because those people will come, they'll eat pizza, they'll bring food trucks. That's what we need. We need to be a destination. Unfortunately, the antique shops aren't going to cut it anymore. You've got a great opportunity with the springs and so on. Those are the people with the bike trail. The bike shop guy ought to be here. Those are the people who are going to drink the beer, stop, and it's a big family event. So it's a great opportunity to get people downtown.
And I think it targets a younger market, truly. I have a 28-year-old, and they go to events like that. I think that it's just a different market of people.
And how would it be, in other words, I'm sorry.
You're good. No, I was just...
You would have a beer garden, and that's where people would drink beer? I mean, are you talking about them walking around with beer, or?
No, we could put that in the ordinance that, they would have to stay within the roped off area or whatever.
Okay.
Christina, do you have some ideas on this? Because we had talked somewhat, about like in the rail corridor doing that. Is there some way that you can see kind of maybe roping that off or creating,
Well, as we talked before about, as we locate over by the depot building, we're going to have that nice quadrant area down there. There's certainly a possibility by the gazebo, or if we have, a music event or whatever, could contain it right in that area.
Mm-hmm.
There's 2 different ways that the Gainesville ordinance operates. One is that they have certain events where you can have an area that's designated for purposes of wine or beer or whatever alcoholic beverages you want to permit. So there's one way of doing it. And I think their ordinance is limited to 2 times a year for a special event type purpose. And then they also have a district area where you can have a patio or a porch area adjacent to their business, outdoor beer garden type, adjacent to the main structure where they can have people that, and again, it's got to be cordoned off. And in each instance, there's a special permitting process that is delineated in the Gainesville ordinance. The Anna Maria ordinance is very similar to that. And again, there's very specific purposes, areas, and you have to go through a very detailed permitting process in order to make it happen. So at least from the legal standpoint, if you all direct us to proceed further, then we'll work with Christina and probably, at least in my mind, is mash up the Anna Maria ordinance with the Gainesville ordinance and see if we can come up with something that is satisfactory just from a draft standpoint, and then you all can chew on it. My view, it goes to P&Z first. You ought to get some advice from your planning and zoning board, and then it comes to you for finalization in an ordinance, which will be a long process if you all direct that. And what works in Anna Maria may not work in High Springs or Gainesville, so you all will have a chance to fit it in the way that you see it fits, or reject it altogether, or go a different way. So that's what the process would be.
Thank you.
But are you saying that these are limited to specific events? Is that what we're saying?
Right. They would have to have an event permit. It would not be something that somebody could decide next Friday they want to have everybody set up. It would have to go through a process of permitting, and there would be a guideline, and then Mr. Booth or whoever,
in
would
some
be
designated area someplace.
Right. And then it would be coordinated. There would be a series of steps. And then the police department, would be notified. There would be a series of steps. So the other thing that had been brought up while I was having these conversations with the business owners is, even if we didn't do rail corridor, maybe in the front of Wisteria Garden, in the front patio there, maybe in the back of Connie's shop, in Talented Cookies Courtyard. Tina's over there. Come on up, Tina. That they would maybe, even have them with their businesses just to get people to come into their businesses.
Hi, I'm Tina Corbett. I own Lanza Gallery and Art Supply, and basically that was what I was going to suggest. One of the reasons I want you to consider possibly little kiosks in Alachua, they had a table and a little tent on one end of the street, and then on the other end of the street, which my husband was very thrilled to go check out the different beers. It's a very big thing. My daughter lives in Delray Beach, in a very high-end area by Boca Raton, and the young guys in their early 30s, all business owners, all up-and-coming guys, they make it a destination to go to these different breweries and these different things, and they have a good old time, and they Uber, so nobody's driving under the influence. It's a different world now when you can just get a ride from your phone. But one of the reasons for spreading it out, possibly not concentrating on just one area, let's say by the gazebos, which is a great idea too if you have music there. Some of the businesses, people won't walk to them. They're a little spread out. A lot of times they won't walk more than a block. So Wisteria suffers. Some of the other businesses by the theater suffer because people won't go down there. So if you open it up to where they can set up a small kiosk kind of thing where they can offer sale or free samples, whether it's wine and cheese or it's beer, different kinds of craft beers. It does bring a higher end of young up-and-coming couples from other areas, such as perhaps Tioga area or, other areas of Gainesville and Ocala that people might come to High Springs and make it a destination, because we'd all like that. But thank you.
Anybody in the audience? Anybody else? Any other comments up here?
I think it's something to consider if staff can come back with some recommendations that we can look at.
I would think that I don't think you arbitrarily want to throw anything away. I think you want to at least give it a deal. There's a lot of questions that I have. Obviously, children. When you said the music, you would want to be careful, like where the music is compared to homes. There's some here and within the area. I think there's a lot of issues, and then I think as a commission you would have to sit there and decide whether or not you want to deal with all those issues. But I think I don't see a problem with looking into something which could possibly bring benefit. I mean, there's nothing that says you can't. I have no issue with directing the attorney to develop something, bring it back. I do better when there's concrete stuff in front of me so I can look. This is why, and I didn't mean to do it. I'm trying to figure out what is going on. I'll be honest with you, I still don't have a clear picture on what you're going to do. Obviously, my age is showing on that regard. But I think I have an idea. But I would like to know when you come in to know specifically. I understand it's a permit process. I understand it has to come between us. I understand this wouldn't, we could regulate how many times. So I understand that we have the ability up here to put whatever restrictions we want on it, but you also want to make it, if you're going to do it, beneficial to the businesses and to the people. I also understand that. I would agree with the gentleman's deal as far as you got to get up to speed a little bit on what's going on. I look at my two main men in the back and I think, okay, what is the legal ramifications of this? Law enforcement ramifications to this. I don't think anything is an obstacle. I think if it's something's presented the right way. So if everyone's okay here, I mean, we're not making a decision, but we could direct the attorney to develop something along those lines, bring it back to us, let us look at it. Then we're looking at something hard paper and not just thought process. We would have something to actually look at. Yes, no, change this, or no. So is everybody okay with them just bringing back something we can look at it?
We can look at it. Will do.
I appreciate it.
Yes, sir.
Thank you all. At this point in time, we go to the city attorney report. Courtney, go ahead.
Yes, Mr. Mayor. I emailed you all this week an update in the city's case with our former chief, Ontario. The judge in the case this week did grant the city's motion for summary judgment, and so that case has been dismissed. There will be no jury trial. Mr. Ontario does have 30 days to appeal that decision, and so I believe that date is June 7th. And so once that day is passed, I will update you and let you know if we receive a notice of appeal in the meantime, let you know as well. And if you read the orders and if you've got any questions after reading the orders, please let our office know and we'll have to discuss that with you. I followed that up with another email. As you know, we also are involved in litigation with former police officer LaBianca. We'd also filed a motion for summary judgment in that case. The judge came back this week and granted our motion in part as to 2 of the complaints and denied our motion for one of the claims. So at this point, we are going to move forward with trial as to that one issue. That case was previously set for trial at the end of this month. The judge canceled that trial date, so we're now awaiting a further order from the judge with a new trial date. We do feel confident moving forward on that remaining claim, but if any of you have any questions, feel free to contact our office.
There was an important order in that case too, Courtney, if you just discuss that as the
Sure.
briefly.
So in both of the cases, the plaintiffs attempted to use former cases or other employees against the city, in essence using what we call Me Too evidence. And the court in LaBianca said that he would not consider any of that evidence against the city of High Springs in either the motion for summary judgment or in trial. And so all of that has been excluded. And so that was a good decision for the city.
That it?
That's it.
Nancy?
I had the pleasure of being selected for the County Tourist Development Council when I went to a meeting yesterday. And that's the council that does the bed tax distribution of that money. And they don't know anybody but Gainesville exists, so I'm going to make sure they know that we exist. I have a meeting set up for the tourism director to come out here May 30th, right? May 30th, and meet with us. And I'm going to invite Newberry and Alachua to join us so we can show them what we have to offer out here and get our little part of the world on their map. So.
Ed, we're going to get you towards the end.
Scott, you're really out of sync tonight, aren't you?
You must be hungry.
No, let me say this, and I don't mean on the deal. This is, I mean, I didn't eat, and I apologize, but when I don't eat, I tank.
Yes.
It's not a pretty sight. Ask my wife of 38 years. So I sincerely apologize, but I'm not totally on the deal. It's right here in front of me, but I sincerely apologize, but I haven't eaten since 12 o'clock, and I don't do well, for whatever that's worth. So bear with me, please. Gloria, if you'll go ahead, we'll go through and we'll let Ed bring it up at the end.
You can have my time.
Good, I'm done.
I'm good.
Ed.
All right, it's up to me. We have a CRA workshop towards the end of this month. Is it 29th? 31st. Anyway, we need to get the residents in from Douglas Village and the surrounding area. But we tried this 10 years ago. We told them what we were going to do, and it miserably failed. What we need to do is to get the residents in here and hear from them and see what they really want, and then try to accommodate that. The Evergreen study, we're 99.9%. It's that one last 0.0% that we have to really work on. You'll see that at the budget workshop, but we really have been working hard along with the directors and that. We're at the low end of that study, but still it's a beginning to bring our wages up so that we can hold on to our people. We're in the prep stage for Railroad Avenue. We've turned it over to the county to finish it because the person we were using doesn't have the right equipment to finish it off. That thing is still on track for October 1 to be paved, and we look for that large change in that whole area. And there'll be, and of course, up in that area also, the park is going to put in parking lots and lots of stuff. So a lot of things are going on there. We opened the bids on Tuesday. That's the $3.5 million project in the south. And the bids came in at $700,000 under. And so we have some wiggle room there to expand that project. So we look for a lot of good things to happen. The lawyers will do the contract. It'll come to you for approval for the bids probably in the next meeting, and then they're ready to start. They're going to stage out of the sewer area because we have some area there and it's close to the project. So that's a good thing. And I should be up and driving by then too, so I can get out there. God hope. The police department, the chief and deputy chief have been working with the First Baptist Church on securing that. I know it's not part of the school board. They're their own entity in that, but we have to make sure that they are secure. They're going to pay for it, but we're going to use our expertise to try to get it up. We're going to pave their road out there, and we're looking for a second entrance into that. They're starting to really grow, and the traffic has become an impediment. We also need to make that a school zone also. So all that is in the works, and that's really on the police department. They're doing a great job with that. No cost to us. Nope, just talked about that. The other project the mayor just signed off on is the wetlands. That's a $1.74 million project. That's now in design. We look to go out for bids somewhere in August, and then we'll move forward. That's it.
I hope you're doing better. I'm not going to say a whole lot because I'm going to screw up again. You don't have to laugh, though. I hope people heard the numbers, the 3.5, the 1.7, and so forth, the numbers on what is going on here, what Bill talked about today, Katrina talked about today. I want to make sure none of that gets lost in everything that goes on. We're talking about some really massive and big projects. We have a water that we're going for a $700,000 water where we anticipate getting to do water lines on this side. So I just want to make sure everybody understands. I appreciate the young man when he's talking about that we're moving, when he was talking here and getting better. And we're doing that because of the staff and the people that are here putting these things in. Businesses don't come if you don't have infrastructure. They don't come around. Housing doesn't come if you don't have infrastructure. So I want to make sure that is always remembered when we go. Those are big dollar amounts, and they're no cost to the city. Those are grants which are allowing us to take care of our infrastructure. So I thank Mr. Booth and Jennifer and Bill and all of the staff for what they do, and I appreciate the people being here tonight to speak. With that, folks, we're going to shut it down. Motion to adjourn.
Make such a motion.
We're out of here. Thank you all for showing tonight.